All right, well, let's get this webinar kicked off. Looks like people are jumping in. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We're really excited about this topic. I'm gonna share my screen here with you and we'll get this thing kicked off. Um, so today's webinar is called How to Webinar from Home. And we were, as a marketing team, we were kind of brainstorming all the different subjects that we could talk about, all the different ways we could bring value to our customer base. And we figured that right now, with what's going on in the world, all the craziness, everyone working from home, quarantining, being good citizens and helping each other out here and trying not to spread this virus, webinars are, and the ability to do a webinar is even more important than ever. And we do a lot of webinars. Jen here is kind of our marketing specialist here in-house, and so she runs a lot of the webinars. Most of you have probably seen my ugly face more times than you'd like to on these webinars, but we're pretty good at it. We've over time, we like to think we're pretty good at running these webinars and getting engagement. And so we thought we'd share with you guys some of the tips and things that we've learned over time of ways to have a more effective webinar. And so that's what our subject is on today. And we're really excited about it. And we hope it's something that's useful for the rest of you. So let me jump ahead. My name is Lassie Young. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at IXN. If you don't know me, if you haven't seen my face before, then you will probably if you continue to join us. And then Jen, if you want to introduce yourself.
And my name is Jen Nilsson. I'm the marketing specialist. You probably haven't seen my face before. I'm usually kind of behind the scenes running the webinars, but it's great to be with all of you today.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, Jen is Jen's usually, like she said, she's usually the one behind the scenes making sure everything's running smoothly, which we'll talk about here in this webinar. So we're thanks for joining us today, Jen. As we go through this presentation, feel free to chat in any questions you have, or if we're maybe wrong about something, or we're missing a tip that you've seen be successful in your agency, feel free to share that. There's a chat there that you can chat in. There's a Q&A section where you can ask questions. We'll try to keep those, answer those as we go. We're going to try to make this a discussion between me and Jen. And we can also open it up to you guys if anybody else wants to share, or at the end, you can rate, there's a little button that says you can raise your hand. And so we can open that up to you guys as well towards the end if you guys want to share anything. So the other reason we're doing this is because of who IXN is. And what I mean by that is IXN is a tool that, well, we have several different parts to our business. We have the brokerage side, which has downline agents, and then we have the consumer side, which is our agent tools that are designed for like lead gen and stuff. If you want to learn more about those, reach out. But much of our platform and much of what IXN is known for is our mobile app solution. So we build these branded mobile apps for the brokerage industry that is branded to your agency. We give you a presence in the App Store and the Google Play Store, and it allows your agents to quote, to gather content, to access tools, to get notifications from the agency from anywhere. So that's kind of what put IXN on the map. It's what makes us, it's probably one of the tools that makes us most unique. We're really the leader in the mobile space. And with that, when we build a mobile app for a brokerage, it's not always easy to get your agents to adopt new technologies, or to know how easy it is to use these tools. Sometimes maybe someone who's been in the industry a long time, maybe an older agent who's not so comfortable with technology, or maybe someone who just hasn't seen that it's out there. Webinars are a great way to drive adoption. It's a great way to let your downline agents know what there is, and how this tool works. Get them comfortable with submitting their life business through this platform. I don't think there's a better platform, especially with what's going on in the world today, than doing a webinar. So we're going to talk today about actually, Um, we're going to talk about the different webinar platforms that are out there, different email marketing platforms, which is kind of what we do the invites for. And then we're going to give you seven steps to follow from planning to executing a successful webinar. So Jen's here to help us with that today. Also, not just training your agents on how to use it, but also for if you're an agent and maybe you're trying to drive interest in your business and selling life insurance and why life insurance, why you should protect your families. Webinars are a great solution for you as well. So, nowadays you can do webinars in conjunction with like a Facebook Live or a YouTube Live, things like that. You can go live on these different platforms and really get the word out there. To give you an example of someone who's very successful doing this is my mom. So my mom sells clothing. It's called LuLaRoe, right? And it's like leggings and it's women's clothes mostly. I think they have some men's clothing. I don't really wear any of it, but I wear flannel shirts because I'm a lumberjack, as you can see. But she does all her sales on Facebook Live. That's how she drives business, and it's basically Facebook's webinar software. And she sells a lot of leggings and different things like that. And so it is a great way to educate the public, to get engagement, and we'll talk about some of the ways today that you can have success doing this. Some of the ways to drive engagement, some of the ways to make that content engaging, things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start by talking about some of the platforms that are out there. There are a ton of platforms for you guys to use. The one we're using today is Zoom. That's probably one of the most popular platforms. We previously used Webinar Ninja. If you've joined us in the past for some of our webinars there, you've probably seen Webinar Ninja. Since we've switched to Zoom, we've had a lot less issues with people trying to join. There's audiences as well. And so all these platforms are pretty good platforms for doing webinars. What we like I said, we've been very happy with Zoom. I've been on some great GoToWebinar webinars, some great WebEx webinars. I haven't used all these platforms, but these are kind of like the top 10 for webinars specifically. I'm not talking about one-on-one meetings. There's a lot of softwares for that out there as well. This is webinar software. So there's a difference between webinar software and meeting software. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. Your one-on-one meeting software is not a webinar software. Zoom is a one-on-one meeting software, and then it has a webinar upgrade that you purchase that's extra. So I believe it's like an extra $40 a month. Is that right, Jen?
Yeah, I think about that.
Yeah. So something like that. It's an extra $40 a month, and then you can upgrade. And you get a lot of the features that we're going to talk about that allow you to do some of the things that we're going to talk about in our 7 steps today. And so some of these, like GoTo has a GoTo meeting, and then it also has GoTo webinar. It has different functionality in there for you guys that allow you to do some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So if you're doing small groups, like 3 or 4 people in a meeting, then a lot of those meeting softwares that are out there, Zoom, Uber Conference, there's a lot of them that have free solutions. GoToMeeting, Join Me, Uber Conference, that's one we used to use, and we switched to Zoom. We really like Zoom for that. And those are great softwares. I recommend, just use the free version or upgrade to the slightly paid version, where it's like $5 a month, $15 a month, something like that. The webinar software does cost a little more, but it'll save you a lot in time and things like that down the road. And so, yeah, we'll, look into those. You can do some comparisons, and we'll look at some of the features that we like within Zoom today. Some of the things to kind of keep an eye out for when you're shopping for webinar softwares. So next slide, we're going to talk about email marketing platforms. Again, a lot of email marketing platforms out there that you can choose from. Email marketing is something that's been around for a long time. We use MailChimp. We really like MailChimp. Super easy to use. It's kind of dummy proof. We'll show you some of the things we like about that. I've used HubSpot. HubSpot is like your intense marketing system. They do a ton for you. Sorry, I dropped something here. A lot of people use Constant Contact. These are, I'd say, some of the top 10 solutions that are out there for email marketing. So we use email marketing to send out invites. A good webinar software has reminders that automatically go out. Jen will talk a little bit about that. But ultimately, our initial invites and our follow-ups, we want to control those a little more. And so we use these like an email marketing platform. So those are probably two of the most pivotal softwares for doing these webinars, is a good webinar software and a good email marketing software. Now, MailChimp, for example, I think it's free up to 2,000 contacts in your system. So unless you're, emailing 100,000 people, but if you've got, 300 downline agents, you can upload to those to MailChimp, and I believe you can use their software 100% free. We have a paid one because we have we have lists with thousands of people in it, and we have all our customers in there and things like that. But and so you can definitely, it can end up costing you money too. But a lot of these do have free solutions. I think Constant Contact does, MailChimp, Drip. So a lot of good email marketing softwares that are out there. These are good ones. So great. I'm going to turn this over to Jen, and she's going to talk about these 7 steps and kind of how to produce and execute a successful webinar.
Perfect. Thanks, Lassa. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so as Lassa had mentioned, there's 7 great steps, and I just want to briefly walk through those, and then we'll go in more detail on each one. So step 1 is planning your webinar, kind of getting together with your team and figuring out the content. Step 2, gathering the audience. Who are you trying to target? What message are you trying to get across? And inviting your guests. Step 3 is creating a slide deck, like we've done here. Step 4 is test. You have to test your software, get all the kinks out. Then step 5 is prepare your space and your environment. So, it's quiet, you're in the zone. Step 6 is enlist help, which I'll speak more about. And step 7 is follow up. So step 1, planning your webinar. So you need to get together with your team and create engaging content. Have useful information, make it fun, and invite other presenters for live engagement. At IXM, we like to do other webinars with people from, different carriers or who are using our products to really give that engaging content and how it's been beneficial for them. So make it fun, keep it lively, good energy, good flow makes it, go much smoother.
Yeah, and to help with live engagement, that's why we try to always have at least 2 people on a webinar. You could even have more, but that really kind of helps the conversation and it be a little more interesting than just one person saying, this is how you run a webinar. Just make it fun, make it interesting, and that's how this whole webinar came about. Was, hey, how do we have some interesting content that's helpful to our customer base?
Exactly. And then, so step 2 is inviting your audience. As Lassa had mentioned, we use MailChimp. We also use Zoom. And I'll go into those in a minute, but you need to gather your lists and figure out, who you're targeting, what content are you presenting to them. So make it specific and engaging, as we mentioned, and then send multiple email invitations. Make sure you have a sign-up page with automated reminders. So everyone who registered for this, would have received reminders that this was coming up. And I'll actually show you. So using Zoom, on their email settings, we can do a reminder email 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week. You can also do follow-up email to attendees, follow-up email to absentees, a confirmation email once you register. And so those are things that are really important because it keeps people engaged and prepared for the webinar. Then we also like to post on social media platforms that reaches larger audiences. We get to,
can I interrupt you here, Jen?
yeah,
So
go ahead.
the reason why this part is so important is kind of what I talked about earlier, is the difference between like a meeting room software and a webinar software. This is one of the differences. You can create these custom reminders, so that way you don't have to remind everybody. So people don't forget. Like, you all probably got reminders. Hey, webinar starts in a day. Webinar starts in an hour. So that way you don't forget that this webinar is coming up, or that your user base, so you get better attendance, but also so you don't have to do all that work. It makes doing a webinar a lot less painful, because if you have to do all that work and you have to send out reminder emails and things like that. We used to use Join Me, which is a meeting software. It's not a webinar software. So we had to send out reminders. Hey, it starts in an hour. Hey, it starts in a day, or whatever it was, starts in 10 minutes. And with a true webinar software, make sure it has that when you're looking for your webinar software, that you're able to set up those automatic reminders. It'll save you a ton of time and headache.
Totally. And that's the nice thing. I have those set up before I even send out the registration link. So I don't ever have to go back. It's just automated for me, which saves time. I can focus on getting things ready for the webinar.
Right. And the registration link, speaking of which, allows you to do something we're going to talk about later, which is follow up. Another thing that a webinar software versus a meeting software does is it allows you to have like a sign up page. Make sure they have something like that, so you can see beforehand who's attending, how many attendees you have, things like that. And then if there's something specific or someone specific that you're looking for that you want there or something like that, then you know who is there. This is especially good if you're doing like a webinar for consumers, right? So if you're doing a webinar that talks about estate planning and you want to make sure you knew who attended that, so that way you can follow up afterwards and say, hey, I saw that you attended my webinar. Thanks for coming. You had some really great comments. I'd love to talk to you more about that and drive business. Or if you're a BGA and you have downline agents, you saw that one of your top producers attended. Hey, I noticed that you haven't downloaded the mobile app yet, but you attended our webinar about our mobile app. I'd love to help you get that going and give you a little bit of training. So yeah, that's really important, is knowing who your attendees are.
Definitely.
Sorry, Jen. So there was just a question that came in. Louis asked, will this be recorded so you can go back to it in the future? Yes, we record it. And we'll actually talk about that here in the software here in a second, or in our presentation.
Perfect. And just going off what Lasse said, Zoom actually gathers all of the registration information and puts it into a file for you. So you have easy access to that, especially like you said, if you want to know who was there, who signed up and who didn't show up, you can reach out to those people accordingly.
Exactly.
So step 3 is creating a KickAss slide deck, which I think we did a pretty nice job of. So props to Lasse. But your webinar should strengthen and emphasize your point. It should not be your script. It should be there to help and guide, but it shouldn't be all that you're talking about.
Right. So we also have like an outline that we created. That's our script. So that way we can go through it, and then we use that to create our webinar. Your webinar, you shouldn't be reading all the bullet points word for word. We are reading them, but then we're talking about them, and we have a script prepared. We have subjects, things like that. And that way you make sure that you're not just babbling on and you're getting to the point.
And if you do write a script, maybe it's helpful for you to read it a few times so you know what you want to say, but then not to read it word for word as you're speaking and presenting, because you want to be personable, engaging. You're speaking to people, even though it's your computer screen, there's still people on the other side.
Right. So for me personally, I hate scripts, but I like bullet points. I like having certain subjects that I want to cover with maybe sentences in there that are the pivotal point of what I want to cover. So that way I'm not looking for my words all the time like I was just doing. But that's the way I like to run my mind. That way I'm not reading word for word off a script.
Exactly.
But whatever works best for you, just make sure you have it kind of, you have your message put together.
Yeah. So moving on to step 4 is testing. 1, 2, 3. You need to test. Lassa and I, with several team members and different, Zoom conferences, we tested all the new features of Zoom to figure out what works, what doesn't. If we do this, will this happen? So you need to test your platform and know how you can take advantage of all the things that it offers you, but also to make sure you're not doing things wrong or embarrassing yourself. And that comes to A and B testing. Also see what works best to get more people registered for your webinar. Whether that be different times in the day or different wording, imagery. Something great about MailChimp is if I schedule a campaign with a webinar link to be sent out, they actually offer, they give a suggestion of the best time to send it out. They go through your contact list. I'm not sure how, but we did that recently and we had really, really great turnout of attendees, one of our highest actually. And so that's a great feature of it as well.
Yeah, I want to tell a little story here. So I had a really bad experience with this because I didn't test enough. So when we switched from to Webinar Ninja, some of you who are attending today might have even been on this webinar or tried to be on this webinar. We were launching this great new product feature. We're really excited about it. We had tons of people signed up and I totally screwed up. I started the webinar, I clicked start, and then I thought I could stop it, and turned out that webinar, once you stop it, or that software, you couldn't restart it, or I didn't know how to. I wasn't familiar enough with how the features worked for me to work it properly. And so what had happened was everyone was joining this webinar and it was already ended. And it was like 1 minute. And the worst part was I totally panicked. I was like, oh crap, I'm freaking out, sorry everybody, this is a debacle. I've never botched anything worse in my life. It was really embarrassing. There's probably a recording of it somewhere and I hope it never surfaces. But, so when we switched to Zoom, we did several calls where we went through and we made sure we knew how it would work. We'd have some of our staff on there as attendees. We went through the features. I mean, it's technology. We'll talk about that in a second here. And technology, things are going to go wrong sometimes. Sometimes technology doesn't work. Sometimes the internet in your area just happens to go out, right? Again, why it's good to have 2 co-hosts, because we're both able to run it. So if my internet went out and Jen's at her house and her internet isn't, she could continue to run it. But ultimately, just make sure that you understand the software. Don't be afraid of it, but go in and play around with it. So that way, when the time comes to do the webinar, you're comfortable. You're not stressing about the tech. You're just worried about your content and making sure you're getting your message across and you're getting it across well. That's why this step 4 is so important. I've lived the shame of how bad that webinar experience was, and you don't want to do that, trust me.
Yeah, it was a sight. So going to step 5 is preparing your space and your tech. As Lassa mentioned, the internet is probably one of the most crucial things. But a headset for good audio. I'm using, just the classic, maybe old-fashioned Apple headphones, but any headset is good. Excuse me. And then having just backup of everything, backup batteries, backup option if things kind of start to not go as planned.
Yeah, for example, if you're using like a Bluetooth headset, I have a really good microphone in my laptop, so I like to use that. It never goes out on me. But if you're using like a Bluetooth headset, you may have forgotten to charge it the night before or something like that. Make sure you have a backup option, so that way you don't lose audio all of a sudden and you can't get on it. If you're on a laptop and you're doing it like I'm doing, make sure you have an option to dial in pretty quickly. I have the phone number to dial in right here on my cell phone in case for some reason it doesn't work or my internet goes out, so that way I can dial in, I can continue on. So yeah, that's really important. I've seen people all of a sudden just go go quiet in the middle of the webinar. They forgot to charge their Bluetooth headset or something. Or use the one with a cable. I think that's what you're probably going to say next.
Yeah.
The ones that you don't have to charge.
Yeah, I like the cable. It's just a little trustier for me.
Mm-hmm.
But also having a computer camera, you know, especially like on a Mac or something, so you can visually see people. You can also join webinars like on Zoom just through your phone or calling in, but it's nice to have that, you know, personal interaction.
Yeah, we like to do this. As you can see us. With what's going on, I really like to do the video because with everything going on in the world today, with everyone quarantining, I get a little stir crazy being at home. So it's nice to see someone else's face. Other than, as much as I love my wife and my daughter, it's nice to see someone else's face and see them talking. And it makes your webinars a little more engaging and interesting. So, you know, make sure you have like good lighting and things like that. If you're not like, I used to have my desk turned the other way. So every time I hopped on a meeting, I was like backlit and I was super dark. So now I turned it the other way. So I have natural light. So I'd say that's pretty important. I like the video. If you don't, you know, if you're not as attractive as me, then, you know, you may not want it. But we definitely like to have Jen on here because she adds a little more attraction.
Oh, well, thank you. And like you mentioned, you know, being at home, there's a lot more distractions, a lot more noises. I think you and I talked about how we put, you know, our dogs kind of in a different room or outside, and, you know, making sure our kids are, you know, quiet. You know, but at the same time, life is going on. There happens to be some construction at my house today, and I wasn't planning on it, but, you know, you have to do with what you have. And luckily, I hope you can't hear it, but just try and make the best of your environment by making it quiet. And as Lassa mentioned, having that strong internet connection. I was actually on a webinar last week and, you know, just looking at a new product, and the salesman got to the point about telling us the pricing, and his internet went out. And we're like, okay. He comes back in 2 or 3 times. It kept going out. And so we lost interest, and that was kind of it. So having your internet, especially if you're doing trainings with your agents or, you know, discussing new topics, you want to have that strong connection and continue that rather than the interruptions. And then if you're running a laptop, just make sure it's plugged in. I know we're like, oh, it's charged, it's good, but, you know, webinars, all the different apps and pages can just drain your battery so quickly.
Yeah, I've seen someone do that where they were running off a laptop, they didn't plug it in, all of a sudden their screen went black and they were gone. So the other thing with the bullet point with the strong internet connection, since a lot of us are working from home, you know, your kids might be streaming Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever it is. During that hour or half hour or however long your webinar is, tell them no streaming. It helps to just make sure that you don't have any internet issues and things like that. So luckily, my wife's a nurse, so luckily she's at work today and my daughter is at my in-laws, so I don't have to worry about that today. But other days they're here, right? So they're watching shows, they're watching, you know, they're streaming stuff all the time nowadays. A lot of things are streamed. And so I always tell them, hey, during this webinar, I don't want any internet lagging. So that's a great way to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely. Then step 6. Oh,
I want to show you guys something, by the way.
that was right.
So turn off your screen sharing really quick, and I will share my screen here. So what I want to show you guys, for those of you who are mobile app customers of ours, I get this question all the time. So you see Jen, you see step 5 here?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to show you guys is how to share your phone screen. So I get this question all the time. You know, how do I share my phone screen with, you know, with the different people who are attending my webinar? Because you can share your desktop like I'm doing now, but if you want to actually show them how it works, I want to show you a couple different things you can use. So first of all, Zoom has a mobile app that allows you to share your phone screen. So you join it on your phone screen as a Zoom in the Zoom meeting. So as another attendee to your meeting. That's one way to do it. It's because if you're using Zoom as your webinar software, I wouldn't recommend doing that because it makes it a little bit difficult. and it only works on Android devices. So if you are on Android, I really like, you can sign up for a free Join Me account. If you sign up for a free Join Me account, then what you can do is you can start a meeting. I can join it from my phone. There's an app that you download on your Android phone. Remember, this only works on Android. I'll show you Apple devices here in a second. And so what I do is I join a meeting. I put in this code that I have. And if you're using the free version, then you can basically just, what's it called? You can basically just, it's just a code instead of like a link like that. I pass the presenter role to my phone. There's a button that says share screen. Start now, and guess what? Now you are seeing in real time what I'm doing on my phone on my desktop. So really easy to use. So you download the app. Here's the Join Me app, and then you just have the desktop app here as well. And then you can join it as a presenter and pass presenter role to your phone. That way you can show them, hey, here's my mobile app. Here's how to run a quote, things like that. That's for Android devices. Apple locks down the ability to share your phone screen a little more. And there may be other options out there that I haven't heard of. And so, so I will, but the way I use it is it's with a cable, which is actually a little bit more reliable. So I have my iPad here, and I have it plugged in to my laptop via like this little cable, right? Just the charging cable that comes with it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to share my iPad screen, which works the same as like an iPhone. So I'm going to try to share my screen with you. The way I do this, and you can do this on a PC or a Mac. I happen to be on a Mac, so it's a little more seamless. But what I can do here is I open up QuickTime Player. So you can download QuickTime Player on a PC. So if you're on a PC, you can download QuickTime Player. And QuickTime Player is nice. It allows you to create screen recordings, all kinds of things, audio recordings. So if you're going to do like a tutorial video, so if I ever do a tutorial video and I want to maybe show something and how I use something and then upload it to YouTube, QuickTime Player is actually what I use. But what you do is once it's plugged in and you've approved it to be a recording device, you go up here and you click on New Movie Recording. And then this drop-down will show you your iPad that you can share. So normally it'll just do like a camera like this. This is what you're seeing, right? You're seeing me. So it's using the actual laptop camera if you have one. But I can choose iPad, and now you're seeing my screen. This is real time. You're seeing my iPad screen, and then I can say, hey, check out my app, take a look at how it works, and look at all the great features, and let me show you how to run a quote, submit business, all that kind of stuff. So there's two ways, one for Android, one for iOS, where you can share your phone screen. I get questions about this all the time. If you need more help, just let us know. Happy to share. Again, we will have this recording available, of course, and for you guys to reference later. But QuickTime Player, New Movie Recording, bam, and then next to the little record button, you just press IXN iPad, and you don't have to record it. You can just go through and do what you're doing, and that kind of stuff. So that's how that works. So I just wanted to show you guys that real quick while we're talking about technology. That's one I get questions about all the time from our customer base because a lot of you are mobile app customers of ours. So that's how that works. I just want to share a comment here. David Chittenden said, "I really like the view from Jen's house. Much more interesting than what Lassa has to look at."
I would say it's pretty
about
big.
Jen? Or are you talking about the background? So, that's funny. All right, cool. So so fine. You can look at my background, and I will be on Tatooine, if that's better. Hope you like that view. So Jen, you go ahead and I'll turn it back to you.
All righty. Well, thanks for sharing that, Lassa. That's really interesting. I wasn't sure how to do that myself, so that's good to know, and everyone can rewatch our video and and see how to share your phone or iPad screen. So the next step, step 6, and we're almost to step 7, is enlisting help. You know, like we said, you need to test everything, but it's nice to have someone else from your office as a presenter or a backup. You know, look at Lasse's answering questions, so we can kind of tag team this. And I know we have, you know, some of our team members on this video, so they can give us feedback as well. And so, you know, it's just good to have that backup and to answer the questions as we go. And as Lasse had mentioned earlier, don't panic. We are human. You know, things aren't going to go as you might always plan for them, but accept that there's going to be mistakes and you can learn from them. And, you know, everyone's understanding. We're all trying to learn these new softwares and technologies and trying to make the best out of them.
But yeah, before you freak out and like close everything out and say this is a debacle like I did, just take a breath. If things aren't working the way they should be, take a breath, take a step back. That's why it's always nice to have someone else there with you. So if you're freaking out, maybe they can be the voice of reason and try to get things back on track or smoothed out.
Definitely. And then the last step is step 7, which is follow-up and distribution. So this video will automatically be recorded in Zoom, and then they'll just send us a link, and it's really easy. So we can post it on YouTube or other video platforms, and we can reach out. But one of the other great things is Zoom gives us the link, and then I go into MailChimp, and I will just put the link in. These are some of our upcoming webinars. I'll put the link in and send that out. So it's very easy to integrate them back and forth. And I wanted to mention earlier, MailChimp is really easy to design. You know, very straightforward, text, images, you can do buttons. So for one of our previous webinars, I just plugged in the link right there. And then that will be sent out. And it's a really good and easy way to do follow-up without putting in, you know, hours and hours of excruciating effort.
Yeah, so marketing is so important, or in marketing, content is so important. And you've just created, like, so we've been on here for what, 40 minutes or so? We just created 40 minutes of interesting content that drives traffic, right? So these are things that people are looking for. So we're gonna post it on our YouTube channel. Great way to drive business. Get interest in our business. Same thing for you. There's people who are, that's why you make it interesting for people. Make the content something that people want to watch, and then get it out there. Post it on social media, post it on your YouTube channel, you know, or post on YouTube and then post a link to your YouTube channel on all the different social media platforms and share it. Get it out there. It'll help your business. It'll help you drive traffic, and it'll help get visibility and marketing out there. You could even, you know, use these videos as have like a little video section of your website for tutorials. We have that in our support section. So a lot of times we'll post these videos in there. But ultimately, this is content. This is great marketing content for you after you've created this. So again, another reason why these webinar softwares are nice, because they automatically record it for you. They make it really nice and clean, give you a video that you can easily upload places. Some of the video conferencing softwares that are out there, they might just record audio, or they might not record the whole thing, or, you know, have limitations on that. So really important.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass my screen and back over to you, Lasse.
Okay. Well, I think we're coming to the end of our webinar here. So basically, going back to kind of why we did this webinar, and you know, let me actually, you see my slides here, Jen?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So re-emphasize what we talked about in the beginning. It's a great way to address your audience, especially during the COVID-19 situation. Webinars are really a good way to get it out there. You can get face-to-face because of this video, and you can hit mass markets. There's even some of the webinar softwares even have like a marketplace where you can share it on that marketplace, and then people can search and join your webinars. You might be able to find totally new prospects that way. Connecting people digitally. This is connecting yourself with many people out there in a digital way. This is a probably second to none option for that. And then, for our industry specific, for the life insurance and brokerage industry, training your agents. Now that many of you traditionally, you would travel out and meet with your agents, or maybe you have a meeting where your agents come to you or something like that, your top agents. This is a great way to interact face-to-face with all of your agents and hit them all at once. So highly recommend this. It's a great training tool, great software or great platform for getting the word out there. So we'll open it up for any other questions that you guys might have. If you have a story you'd like to share about a webinar that you did, feel free to raise your hand. There's an option there to raise your hand. But yeah, we'll take any questions. I'm not seeing anyone come in right now, but we'll give you a few seconds here. And if we don't see any questions come in, then we'll just call it good. Well, I think we're all good. It sounds like we don't have any questions. Haven't seen anybody really raise their hand. Looks like Luis raised his hand earlier, but I think we got his questions answered, so I think we're good there. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. One last thing I'll mention is if you're interested in IXN products, feel free to reach out to me. If you're interested in learning more about marketing or have any of these questions about any of the concepts we talked about, Jen's information is here as well. Feel free to reach out to us. We love talking to our customers and who's out there, and we'd love to help you guys be better at webinars. Again, we'll post this on our YouTube channel so you all can see it. We hope this was interesting to you, and hope you all are staying safe and healthy, and you have a good rest of the day, and take it easy.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.